Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of r/Malicious Compliance. In today's episode, call the cops? If you insist. Find me a parking ticket when I have proof of purchase? No vacation/PTO until October. Okay, I'm taking all of October off. Take all my stuff and move out? I will take all my stuff and move out. Before we get started, make sure to subscribe so you will never miss a video. So let's get started. Call the cops? If you insist. Many summers ago, I worked front desk at a regional headquarters of a multinational corporation. For a visitor to be granted entrance, they had to prove that A, they have an appointment, and B, they are who they claim to be. Now the first part was easy, no need to show us your email, just give us a name and we'd call that person to confirm. The second required some sort of ID though, driver's license, employee badge, something like that. Or your inviter would have to meet you out here and confirm to us in writing. Note that we didn't keep your document, we just needed to put down your name and take a real quick glance of your face and photo. Most of our visitors had no problem with the protocol. Some would voice their frustration but still comply. Well, not this special guy. He got aggressive and demanded an explanation about the need for an ID when he was standing right here. Couldn't seem to grasp it, however we tried, and he got increasingly louder. He didn't want his inviter to meet him outside because this is wrong. Security was ready to see him out when he screamed at us to call the cops because we needed to be arrested and taught a lesson on civil rights. Calls were made, cops came quickly, and he went out in cuffs. Turned out they already had a warrant, just weren't in a hurry to get him. Icing on the cake was that he was here for a job interview. Find me a parking ticket when I have proof of purchase? This happened the other year, when lockdown was serious. My mate tested positive for COVID, so I did the proper thing of canceling my holiday and isolating for 2 weeks. This was right at the start before self-testing was available, so I just followed the guidelines. It was a very cold fortnight. So cold that at some point, the adhesive on my parking permit fell from the windscreen into the footwell. When I finally return to the world, I go to my van and see a parking ticket for the previous night. My van hadn't moved in 2 weeks, and the same parking attendant every day, just following the rules, hits me with a £75 fine. I call the company up and get them to check their payment record. My £25 per month permit was in date, and they have my vehicle details. They told me the rules on the signs are clear, and if you don't display a ticket, you will receive said fine. No ifs or buts. I tried to fight it further and further, going nowhere. With my stubbornness, it ended up costing me nearly £200. Then it dawned on me. If they're not checking a system and just looking for a permit, why am I still paying for it? I called up and cancelled my monthly renewal and kept hold of the permit. That was about 21 months ago. It's so bleached from the sun you can hardly make it out. But it's valid in every way that matters to the parking attendant, and I keep saving an extra £25 per month. No vacation/PTO until October. Okay, I'm taking all of October off. Something happened at my husband's work last night that reminded me of this decade-old story. For context, at the time my husband worked overnights at one of the largest supermarket operators in North America. I was about 6 months pregnant and the store he worked in had a change in who the store manager was, and when I went shopping I used either a wheelchair or a scooter with a cart on it due to a disability that makes it difficult for me to walk under normal circumstances. Background. Originally we had felt pretty lucky that between all the pregnancy tests I had done to confirm that yes, I am in fact pregnant, and the ultrasound, the earliest and the latest due date we had been given, all fell in the first week of September. So my husband had planned to use one of his weeks of vacation that week, and then use his paternity leave after that week so he would be able to be there while I was at the hospital in recovery and for the first days of our baby's life. His boss seemed genuinely confused by the request, He was 22, single, and called his truck his baby, but it said something along the lines of, "Hey man, it's your vacation, you should use it how you want to." Then about a week later, I came home from one of my DR appointments to a message on the answering machine saying, "Unfortunately, I have to deny your request for vacation and paternity leave in September, as someone with more seniority has put in for those days off as well. I hope this doesn't cause problems between you and your wife." I burst into tears on the spot, but my husband said he'd go talk to the person who requested those days off, explained that he asked for that time off because it's when the baby is due, and see if he could offer them something to give him those days off instead. Unfortunately, it was one of his co-workers who was going to have major surgery and needed that time off to recover, so we couldn't ask him to trade vacation weeks for us. My husband put in for time off for the second week off in September and is denied. Then he tries the third week and is denied again, but this time his boss tells him that he won't be able to use any of his vacation time until October due to his position and who has time off. Cue the malicious compliance. We realized that because this boss was new, he probably didn't realize that my husband had been saving all his vacation days, PTO, and paternity leave. When we added up all the time, it amounted to 3 weeks of time off. And if we worked it around to start around when his days off were, he would be able to be home with the baby from October 1st until November 9th. His co-workers on the night crew and several of his friends on the morning crew felt that he had been seriously shafted by the new boss, so they got in on this plan with us. We waited until the boss day off, and that's when my husband put in the schedule for the time off he was requesting, which was approved by the scheduling manager and the night crew manager. This was in July, so the only thing left to do was wait. Our baby was born in the early hours of the morning, about 2 days before our earliest due date after 29 hours of stage 2 and 3 labor. I ended up having an induction due to the fact I had been in early stage labor since the beginning of August and it just wasn't progressing. When my husband called the night shift manager to say that I was going to the hospital to give birth, he told my husband to call in if he was going to miss any more days of work and they would make sure it got covered. It wasn't PTO, but it was considered an excused absence. After I came home from the hospital, my mom started staying overnight with us temporarily to help out preparing meals, taking care of the dog and the household chores so I could focus on taking care of myself and the baby. That first month home was pretty rough, so I was relieved when October rolled around and I finally had his help 24/7 and my mom was able to take a break. The aftermath. First up was the 3 days of paternity leave. On the morning of the 5th day of this 40-day-long vacation, the boss woke me up at 6 a.m. wanting to talk to my husband. I told him he was feeding the baby and asked why he was calling. He said he was checking in to see why my husband no-showed the night before, and I said, sarcastically, "Oh no, that's terrible. I'll go get him for you." I put the phone on speaker so my husband can talk to his boss while he's feeding the baby, so I get to hear everything. The boss very smugly informed my husband that his paternity leave was over, and since he didn't come in the night before, he would be written up for a no-call, no-show. My husband said, "Yes, I know my paternity leave is over, but my first vacation week started last night." The boss, first vacation week? Husband, yeah. I have 3. I was going to use one in September, one in October and one in November, but since you told me I couldn't use any PTO until October, I decided to just take all of October off to be with my wife and newborn. The boss, I'll call you back after I look into this. I don't know how I managed to stay silent and not laugh at this conversation, but somehow I did. We got a call back later that day that went something like this. "Boss, yeah, I'm going to need you to come into work tonight. I never would have approved your request for time off if I knew you were taking the whole month off." Husband, you didn't approve it. The night manager and scheduling manager both approved this, so I'm not coming in tonight. Boss, clearly thinking this is a gotcha moment, I didn't approve it and I need you to come in tonight. So you'll be here at 10 on your regular schedule for the rest of the month, or you'll be written up. Husband, no, I won't. I submitted the request in July and you never denied my request. It's been approved by the other managers and it's already started, so it's too late for you to deny it now. Boss, I'll call you back. After that, my husband called the union steward to confirm that he was in the clear, and they say that he is. We got another call the following Sunday, which was my husband's next day off, asking if he would be coming in that night since he wasn't listed as being on vacation in the system. Husband, am I on the schedule? Boss, no. Husband, then, it's my night off, so no. He hung up after that, but we got a call like that every night. My husband wasn't on the schedule due to it being one of his regular days off and him not being marked as being on vacation in the system. Some of the ladies in the bakery/deli section of the store put together a card shower for us and gave them gift cards since we never said anything to them about when my baby shower was or where we were registered. Oops. Later that week, I made a trip into the store one afternoon to pick up some stuff and introduce them to the baby, and my mom came along too. While we were over there, the store manager came up and said, "You must be husband's wife." I was feeling petty, so I pointed out that we would have met sooner if he didn't have a habit of running away and hiding in his office when customers approached him. I don't know if that irritated him or if he was planning on saying this next anyway, but the next words out of his mouth were, "You don't look like you need help with the baby." Husband said he was taking time off to help you with the baby because you have a disability, but I guess you don't need it, huh? The bakery deli ladies glared at him, and my mom went pale because she knows I usually react very strongly to those comments. But my mom also raised me to be civil and mannerly, so I just smiled and said, "I hope you don't speak to your employees like that can get you fired." Bless your heart. And one of his employees told him I was right, so he sulked off. He seemed so desperate to find any reason he could to force my husband to come back to work before the end of the month. I started wondering if he was being petty and might try to retaliate after my husband came back to work, or if he was just desperate. So I called one of my husband's co-workers. Remember when I said new boss was 22? Well, he also had a habit of bragging about how he started working for the company as a cashier when he was 17 and worked his way up to management in just 5 years. At some point after the baby was born, district came and did a walk-through, and it turned out his dad was the district manager and he didn't work his way up to management. He was a Nepo baby. That burned bridges with more than a few employees. Then, he turned up in a brand new truck and said with the year-end bonus he was going to get he could pay it off in one go. Several employees walked, including 2 on the night crew. Since my husband was on paternity leave, he had to work overnights to make up the slack. He'd never showed up to cover overnights when they were short-handed before that, so we figured he was desperate to get my husband to come back because working overnights was cutting into his dating time. Finally, the end of my husband's vacation time came and his boss called again. "Boss, you used up your paternity leave and your vacation weeks. You're coming in tonight, right?" Husband, no, I still have PTO days left this year, and since I won't be able to use them all between November and the end of December and they don't roll over into next year, I decided to take them now. Boss, well, when are you coming back to work? Husband, November 10th. Boss called back the next day to tell my husband that actually he had used up his paternity leave while he was at the hospital giving birth, so he would have to use PTO to cover that. And actually he had used a week of PTO when he took me to the hospital with fake labor, so actually, he would be coming back to work on November 1st. My husband called the union steward and filed a complaint that his boss was retroactively deciding what counted as paternity leave and what counted as PTO and trying to force him to use PTO days to cover days where he either went in late or left for a couple hours and then came back and stayed late to make up the missed hours. He went in to fill out some paperwork and we didn't hear from his boss again between then and when he got replaced at the end of the following January. Take all my stuff and move out? I will take all my stuff and move out. This happened 7 years, a month after my dad died. My mom and I got a message from her sister Linda saying she wants the house. Her and mom got together. Before this, they had a cordial relationship and my mom had spent quite a bit to make the house better. She also bought all the furniture for it. My dad was in and out of hospitals and our finance was not well. Dad's insurance kept trying to bilk on the payments. We had to borrow money and even sell some of our things to get by. house was used by Linda's youngest daughter and she apparently got someone to either rent it or buy it. So she told my mom to take her sh*t and get out. My mom was not the type to rock the boat, and broke as we were, we managed to get a moving truck some helpers. Now, my dad thought me to keep records and receipts. So I still have the receipts for the items my mom bought and out in the house. Linda and her ilk looked smug and tried to make a spectacle of us packing up. Then she started getting angry when everything was getting packed. The fridge, TV, sink, cabinets, plates, picture frames, beds, mattresses, and everything else went in the truck. Every time Linda protested, I show her the receipt and she had to let us go. Halfway through she just gave up and sulked away. When we were done, the house was bare. I wanted to take the tiles off, but Mom wasn't going to be that petty. The house was left bare and unused until Linda gave it to my mom for pennies. This wasn't the first nor last time Linda's greed made her burn bridges. She once quit her job and borrowed over $100K because she thought she had a buyer for her land. She expected to get millions but got nowhere near that price. She now lives in a hut and can't get any good jobs because of many bridges she burnt. Edit, I'm a dude. The ones who wanted to rent/buy it expected it be furnished. Linda, or as I like to call her now Sally Bridge Burner, is the type to count her chicken before they hatch. She didn't expect my mom or I to take everything that was ours. The only thing left after we were done was an old cabinet and their clothes. What I mean by sold for pennies was because the house was in the boonies, it was fully furnished and looked nice. So once that was gone, no one was interested in an overpriced bare bones house. Linda couldn't rent it out because she was charging 3 to 4 times more than she should, and when she tried to sell it she wanted way more than what people were to pay for it. She was expecting millions when she'd get at the most $300,000 to $400,000 for it. Also, I'm from the Philippines. If you made it to the end of the video, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe and share, and we will see you in the next video.